Hello, good afternoon. My name is Marcus Hood. I'm the communications officer with the city of Killeen. And the reason we're here today is as most everybody knows, there is an impending Arctic front coming in. And the city of Killeen just wanted to get ahead of it, let you know about our preparations for it and what we're planning on doing. We have with us our Mayor, Debbie Nash King, our Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, Peter Perez, and Assistant Fire Chief James Chisholm in the back. Peter will be our main speaker today. The Assistant Fire Chief will be around to answer any questions later if needed. But now, first off, Mayor Debbie Nash King.
Thank you, Marcus. Good afternoon. We wanted to hold this press conference because we want this message to reach as many citizens as possible. The safety and well-being of our residents is our top priority. Many people only think of weather as being dangerous if there are strong winds or storms involved, but cold weather can be just as deadly. It is the cause of death for more than 1,000 people each year. We have a population of people who do not have a warm place to lay their head at night, and we want to make sure they are taken care of and that they have options. Our residents can rest assured that our team is prepared to work with the community partners and continue to provide the best services for our residents in Killeen. Will now turn this over to our Homeland Security and Emergency Management Director, Mr. Peter Perez. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Marcus, and of course, our media partners for coming up. We just want to go over, of course, we've all heard that it's going to be very cold over the next few days. The important part of this forecast to really zone in on is the fact that the National Weather Service Fort Worth office is not predicting or foreseeing any sort of winter precipitation with these temperatures. So yes, it is going to be cold, but the difference between this weekend and what happened last year with Winter Storm Uri is that last year with Winter Storm Uri, we had a lot of precipitation. We had that snow and that sleet, which froze and impacted roads and utilities. So for this particular storm, we're not expecting to have any roadway or utility impacts. However, because of those low forecasted temperatures, it has activated our warming center policy, and staff have been working the entire week with other city departments as well as our community partners to come up with this following plan. This following plan is also in your briefing kit that is in the back of the room. And so the Moss Rose Community Center of the Killeen Housing Authority is going to serve as our warming center for this weekend. It's located at 1103 East Avenue E here in Killeen, Texas. Starting tomorrow at noon, they will open up for lunch, which is something they normally do every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So they'll open up for lunch and they will go ahead and stay open from that time. So they'll stay open Thursday night, and then Friday they'll be serving a breakfast, and then they will also stay open all day Friday. Because of those really low forecasted wind chill temperatures going down even to the -5 degrees, we wanted to make sure that Friday and Saturday the center was going to remain open during those days and the evenings. So again, Saturday they'll also be open all day, and then at the current plan is Sunday morning they will close after breakfast. They normally again serve breakfast at around 8 a.m. So after that time is when they'll close. They'll take a chance to thoroughly clean the facility, and we already do have plans to open again Sunday evening at 6 p.m. and open that center up overnight as well. With forecasts changing and it being kind of a holiday weekend and a few days out, we're constantly monitoring it. So any updates or changes to this schedule will be communicated through the City of Killeen's communication methods. Our platforms are obviously our website, our news alert center, which is where community members can sign up for text messages and emails, our social media where we have Facebook and Twitter, as well as our emergency communication system, which is the emergency code red system. That's also another opt-in system that community members need to go and sign up for before they get information. We know of 3 agencies in our area that have emergency shelters set up. Those are those overnights where they're providing bedding, hygiene kits, showers, as well as food. Those 3 are the Salvation Army Temple Corps, so in Temple, the Families in Crisis Center, which is here in Killeen, as well as the Jesus Hope and Love Mission, which is also here in Killeen. And again, the contact information for those agencies is listed in your press packet if you'd like to reach out to them for more specifics. Lastly, many people have contacted the city and our office over the past few days asking, how can they volunteer? How can they donate? And that's what we really enjoy about our community here. We like to come together when something's impacting everybody and see how we can help. The city does not really take donations because each facility is different. So what we ask for is if our media partners can assist in sharing the contact information for those. We have 2 agencies listed that got back with us and provided specific information on donations and volunteers. It's also in your press packet. Feel free to share that information for those 2 agencies. One of them's the Killeen Housing Authority Moss Rose Center, and then I believe the other one is going to be the Salvation Army Temple Corps. Or Friends in Crisis. So if you reach out to those agencies specifically, see what they need first. I can tell you that generically, none of those agencies will take anything that is pre-cooked at home, but they will take anything that is has a long shelf life. So if you think of canned goods, granola bars, that is in its original manufactured packaging is something they can take. And that is all I have for this update. I will turn it back over to Mr. Hood.
Thank you, Peter. Now, basically, we just want to open the floor. If you've got any questions about how we're handling anything for Mr. Perez, feel free to ask. Probably do this for about 10 minutes and obviously just be polite. Don't interrupt each other, and we'll take any questions.
Mr. Perez, you said the Moss Rose Community Center of Killeen Housing Authority is the designated shelter for the Killeen area. How many does that specific location house? And how many residents, if it's full, is there an alternative plan?
So just to quickly kind of clarify, it's our warming center location. If those of you might remember our council agenda a couple of weeks ago, shelters are automatically set up for that overnight housing type situation. Our centers are not designed for that. So Moss Rose and the partners that they partner with have allowed us to have an increased warming center where we're able to provide some food and able to provide a little more than what we'd normally be able to provide in our own city facility, which is why we partner with them. And so that facility, I can't remember the exact number of what it's designated for. If you'd like, I don't mind. We can go back and see what the certificate of occupancy says, and that is, of course, what the city of Killeen follows. We do have some contingency plans in place just in case. It's kind of the nature of emergency management and homeland security. However, to avoid confusion with the public, we don't want to yet advertise and push that information out. What we've experienced is when we have done that in the past, people tend to show up at those contingency locations and no one's there to provide a service because we haven't activated it yet. So we want them to focus on the Moss Rose Center. One of our contingencies is if people need assistance once moving from the Moss Rose to our other facility, if we have to expand, then we'll provide those types of services and that type of planning is there. That's really when we start reaching that elevated of a larger disaster rather than, 10 to 15 people.
Mayor mentioned something about the community members that are unsheltered here in Killeen. Are you able to speak to, I guess, how y'all are trying to help those unsheltered community members, and if you have a certain number that you're thinking of for their population here in the city of Killeen?
I'm sorry, I will repeat the questions for our interpreter. I'm so sorry, I did see that. Yes, so you would like to know if our office knows about the number of maybe those who might not have a house, the transitional members in our community, and what all entails that the city's working with on them. I unfortunately don't have that information. That's handled by some other departments. I can tell you that the one thing, and this has been advertised at multiple city council meetings and through the media, that y'all have done a great job with it, is our partnership with the city of Temple in kind of creating a homeless, I think they called it a task force or a working group, and they hired an outside agency to come in and help us do an assessment. So I think that assessment in the next month or two is due to be finally presented to the city council, to both councils, Temple and Killeen. So definitely keep an eye out for that information.
Is it whoever comes in first, would it be, how are you accepting people? Describe how people do they have to sign up prior? Is it on a first come, first served basis? That's what I was trying to get out. And can you describe exactly what those in need can expect? Is there a cot that they're sleeping on? Is there a sleeping bag? Kind of describe some of the details about it.
Yeah, of course. So you're asking what type of services are offered in this facility and how people can access the facility. I would hate to use the term first come, first serve, because that means like there's an end in sight, and that's kind of not what we plan for. But I will say that yes, anybody who goes to that facility, walks in the doors and says, I don't have a warm place to stay. That could even be the fact that you have a house or apartment and it's just not warm enough there. That is what this facility is for. And so anybody that walks in the doors is welcome as long as they obey the facility rules and laws. So once they come in, they will be expected to sign in on our sign-in form. Something that we've kind of made clear with our staff that work it and many people that we see frequently when they come here is your name is not necessarily important as much as it's helping us tally up how many people that night came. We have some other very basic demographics such as age range as well as veteran status, because there's other agencies in the area who are asking for that information from the city, and we've never asked it before. So if we start asking it, we might have that data available. Once they're there, we have tables and chairs set up. There is a TV available that normally they will play some kind of movie or have the news or something on. I'm imagining since it's Christmas time, they'll probably have some Christmas movies playing. And then Moss Rose from the Clean Housing Authority is really great because they have other partners. A couple of them I've always mentioned is the LULAC Herencia Council, as well as one of the VFW posts in the area. So they actually sign up to cook meals, whether it be breakfast, lunch, dinner, and they're on a rotational basis. So those other volunteer groups come in and provide that enhancement to the warming center. Where it always is up to that facility if they have cots or access to cots if they want to set them up. I can tell you that, of course, many people saw that earlier. We were doing a blanket drive and a sleeping bag drive. All of that went to the Moss Rose so that they could work with their partners. So I would imagine that during especially this very cold weekend, they'll probably be handing some of that out to those folks. So of course there's meals, there are bathrooms, there are no showers there, but there are bathrooms. And the good thing is that the public space of that building is ADA compliant. So we've had people in there who might have some sort of mobility and access needs, and they've been able to stay there just fine. The other good part is during the evening times, at least once during the evening time, a fire department EMS person will show up just to do a courtesy visit and check on people, make sure everybody's doing okay. We want people to know that they're there, and if there's a need they have, that there are ways for them to get that.
What does the next, 24 hours look like for you in your office as this kind of moves in? I know, a lot of people aren't too worried about it because there's not precipitation, but as we've stressed, the wind and the cold is going to be dangerously life-threatening cold.
Yes.
So I guess what is your office monitoring to make sure everyone here in Killeen is gonna make it through this?
Of course. So my Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management here for the city of Killeen continuously monitors the weather. So we are obviously always looking at the weather, looking at forecast, because we want to try and make sure that we give our department staff as well as our partners as much of a lead time for any of these activations as possible. And a lot of times that's a 3-4 day window that we can give them to start planning and putting things in place. Anything farther out than that, forecasts are great, but we all are aware of Texas weather, and that can change in the blink of an eye. And so we are always doing that. We're also planning resources. So if partners such as Moss Rose or any of their partners ask for things from the city, we try and see if we can fill that gap for them. It could be food. It could be things like blankets, cups, silverware, cleaning supplies, things to keep the center operational and running. Those are things that we look to maintain that they're able to keep there, as well as maybe low volunteer counts. So of course, because this is the holidays, that was probably our biggest concern, is that there would not be a lot of volunteers that would be able to go and assist during this time. But at the moment, all of them have said that they have that covered. And so we're good there. The second part of your question, you had kind of talked about the wind and those life-threatening temperatures. That's really the big part, is anybody who is not sheltered and outside for prolonged periods of time is really at risk of those temperatures. And I will say that one of the biggest parts of that is if you look at what's happening in Colorado right now, they're getting negative 50 degrees wind chill temps. Negative 50 degree wind chill temps when I used to live there was very rare. And then the other part was also that within 5 minutes of uncovered skin outside in negative 50 degree wind chill temps, you can get frostbite in less than 5 minutes. So the way I relate that to some people is if you're just outside walking from your car and you decide not to put a jacket on, or you're outside maybe smoking and you don't have a glove on, that is going to easily feel that. We're not going to get that cold here, but anything below 20 in Texas, especially our area of Texas, is very difficult for us to handle. because we're not used to those temperatures. So of course, we're looking at that. Wind gusts are a good thing. I think some of our messaging has gone into holiday season again. It's people, and we have lawn ornaments, right? We have those inflatable, beautiful Christmas things in our lawns. Please make sure they're tied down. Tonight would be the night to make sure they're tied down. Overnight, starting at I think about midnight to 1 a.m. is when the wind gusts in our area are going to be peaking. I think right now it was up to about 25 miles per hour. And so we don't want any of those lawn ornaments to not be there when you wake up in the morning and you have to go search for them, or they be, down the road. So please make sure all of those are down as well.
And lastly, Mr. Perez, you said, I believe in the city council meeting that your recreation department employees were the ones that were manning the centers.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still the case? And also, what type of security measures are put in place to make sure that those who go there in need of a warm shelter that night are safe?
Yeah, so the question was if recreation from the city department is still the one that staffs it, and what type of security do we have in place? So recreation staff at the moment are still the ones who provide that overnight staffing. So they do provide 2 employees there who are able to, we kind of fluctuate and move their schedules around, and they're able to come in. And it's great that they were able to do this and make this accommodation to their schedules over a Christmas holiday. And then for security, so during normal business hours, when a lot of other things are open that people might venture out of the center to go towards to get, we have a police officer. The KPD has graciously supplied someone to come by every 2 hours just to do a check. Is everybody okay? Does anybody need anything? Towards the evening hours is when an officer is permanently stationed there with those 2 recreation employees, and they don't leave until the morning when the recreation employees leave. And then since we're staying open in the day, they'll go back on that 2-hour rotation of someone coming by and checking. So yeah, so that's where we make sure that people will follow the facility rules, laws, regulations, and don't do anything prohibited in there as well.
Thank you, Mr. Perez.
Yeah.
Do you have any concerns, I guess, about the power grid? Are y'all monitoring that? Have y'all heard anything from ERCOT as a city agency? I know a lot of Texans are always worried about that since we went through a very hard time in that time period. Is there any concerns, or are you pretty confident in how our power grid's going to supply during this storm?
Yeah, so the question was if the city's gotten any communication from ERCOT, the Electrical Reliability Council of Texas, to say acronyms for her, sorry. But then also, how reliable are we in that? I will say from our office, we have access to some of their emergency information and some of their data. So we have been reviewing that this week as well. We also saw that the Texas Division of Emergency Management sent all of the emergency managers a notice from them saying that ERCOT did not foresee any issues with this winter storm. They foresee that they're able to carry that load. And so that is the information that they have communicated to us. And that's what we are expecting throughout this.
What tips do you have for folks who may be seeking shelter in those mountain centers in the next couple of days leading up to this weather?
Yeah, of course. So the tips that I have for the people seeking those shelters is, I would say probably one of our biggest is don't feel shy. Don't feel like you can't come use this facility. That's the whole purpose of it. I would make sure that to set expectations, to know that it is a general facility that is open to the public. And so to please come in, respect others. Most of the time, I can tell you when I've been there, most people, unless they know each other or unless they came in together, they're not normally socializing with others, which is totally fine. They're in there to get warmth, to utilize the restrooms, and to get food, which is the purpose of it. So I think just to set those expectations is, there's not individual rooms. It's a very large common space that you'll be in, sharing that with others. So ensuring that you have that respect for everybody around you.
If there is an emergency from a citizen in Killeen, like pipes break, losing power, just, there's certain things that happen in cold weather, what would you urge people to do?
So the city still has our 24-hour number for water pipes that burst. So if you need someone to come turn off your water, maybe this is your first time living there and you don't know how to turn off the water to your home, and you're in the city of Killeen, you can call one of our 2 24/7 water and utility collection numbers. Those numbers, the first one is 254-501-7800. And the second number that you can call is 254-501-6319. That information is also in your press packet. So for water specifically, you would call those. They can come out and they can turn it off. As a government entity, we're not allowed to repair your private property, but we can at least hopefully stop the water from flowing from the main line for you. And so others who are looking to prepare for other things, of course, I always say if you're looking to travel, if you're going to travel in the next couple of days anywhere, driving or even on a plane, it might be good for you to have different layers, different temperatures, look at where you're going and what the temperature will be like there. If you're driving, having some spare blankets, a granola bar, and some flashlights might not be a bad idea in the car. Again, we're not expecting any impacts to the road, but with these very low temperatures, we have in the past seen impacts just to the automobiles themselves of operating in that cold climate.
Are you or Assistant Chief able to speak about, I guess, fire hazards? There's a lot of fireplaces use space heaters. I'm sure y'all are kind of gearing up to handle that, not just this weekend, but into the season. Are either of you able to speak to some kind of tips that people should avoid or not do at all?
Yeah, of course. So the question was tips on fire safety, especially during the colder months. So we're actually working currently with our communications office to start pushing some of that information. During the colder months, those are probably the NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association. Oh, look at there. I got it right. The National Fire Protection Agency or Association, sorry, typically tracks data on fire. So all the fire departments in the country kind of report in a system that goes to them. And so they're able to see that in these colder months, one of the larger causes of home house fires is an improper use of space heaters. So it's important to remember your space heater. You want it 3 feet away from anything that can catch on fire. So curtains, your couch, yourself. They do advise you not to have those on at night while you are sleeping so that you can stay awake in case something happens, as well as the newer space heaters. Well, I say newer, probably within the past 10 years. All of them come with a fall shutoff. So if it tilts over and falls over, it automatically turns itself off. And so those are very important. The other things is the NFPA also says that you should not use your stove, whether it be electric or gas, to heat your home. So finding other sources to do that, like space heaters or even things like that. As far as other sources, do not put your barbecue pit in your house with charcoal and try to heat your home. Those were some things that we saw across the state during Winter Storm Uri because of how cold it was. And so it's important for people to know that when you're burning that coal or that barbecue pit, even if you have a barbecue pit and you put wood in it and not coal, it's still burning the smut and residue that's already on that barbecue pit. That is not good for you to breathe in. And so try your best to use approved heating sources. Candles are also a good thing, just in case something happens, or they can also provide a little bit of warmth as well. And there's still nothing wrong with candles. Just make sure that they're, again, within 3 feet away from something that can catch on fire and that somebody is in the room when you have that candle on. That way, if it gets knocked over, you're able to quickly put that out. Yeah. Anything else?
Anything we're missing?
I don't think so. All right, I'll hand it back over to Mr. Hood.
If that's it, we just want to thank you for coming and appreciate y'all getting the word out and being ahead of the storm. But if there's not anything else, we'll close it now. Thank you.